Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's public meeting. I'd like to welcome members of council, members of staff, those of you joining us today in the gallery, particularly our members of the media. We will begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathering on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. We would like to recognize that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Mishpont First Nation, for whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community in the province of Ontario. Thank you, and Miigwech. We will now move on to our formal part of the meeting. Today we are starting with the Planning Act, Zoning and Bylaw Amendments meeting. This meeting is held in accordance with the Ontario Planning Act. The proposed amendment seeks a temporary rezoning and the subject lands to permit a work camp accommodation facility. I will ask members of council to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Hoffman.
I'm sorry, Mayor, there are written resolutions.
Oh, perfect.
Sorry. Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the agenda for the public meeting scheduled for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to item number 4, announcements. There are no announcements listed on the agenda, so we will move on to item number 5, new business. 5.1, zoning bylaw amendment authorizing a temporary zoning for accommodation camps at 120 Pinewood Drive. Before we hear from the public, we will first receive an overview of the application from our CAO clerk, Maury O'Neill, followed by a brief presentation from the applicant, Trevor and Tracy Lang.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You have a copy of the staff report, and the staff recommendations are that the application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Trevor Lang for temporary use to permit a work camp and ancillary uses located at 120 Pinewood Drive, and the staff report be received. That bylaw number 2821-15, being the zoning bylaw for the municipality of Wawa as amended, be further amended as per the Schedule A, the draft bylaw that was attached to the report, be approved at tonight's regular meeting. And 3, that council determined that in accordance with section 3417 of the Planning Act, no further public meeting or notice is required prior to the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment. So this report relates to the rezoning application submitted by Mr. Trevor Lang for 120 Pinewood Drive to permit a temporary work camp and ancillary uses for approximately 176 persons, would be employed by a large mining contractor who is working on a contract for Alamos Gold Mines located outside of Dubreuilville. The temporary zoning request is for a period of 3 years or 36 months, after which the property would revert back to its current rural zoning designation and the trailers and infrastructure installed removed, unless council further agrees to extend the timeframe by another three-year increment after a public meeting. This proposal is to permit the temporary use on the property that is consistent with the applicable policies of the provincial policy statement and complies with the general nature and intent of the Wawa official plan. So as a background, this amendment, if approved, would permit temporary work camps and accessory uses on the property at 120 Pinewood. The application was filed by Trevor Lang as the owner of the property, and the land is 24.7 acres or 10 hectares in size. It's located at the north end of Mills Drive, and the property is currently vacant except for one residential unit or dwelling on the property, and is zoned rural with a small piece zoned hazard on the north end next to Mishpont River. The application is for using about one half the property, and the applicant intends to lease the site to a contractor who will be responsible for the operation and construction of the trailer style camps with a kitchen, a waste facility, vehicle parking facilities, and those ancillary uses needed. The proposed The proposal is that we would service the property with the municipal water supply that is available on Pinewood Drive that our staff have reviewed. It's a 2-inch line and it's suitable. And the applicant will be connecting from his private water line on the property to this campsite. Water would then be held in tanks for the camp facility. The proposed development would rely on an above-ground tank system for wastewater, so there's no Algoma Health Unit approval required. However, there's the requirement for the Ministry of Environment to approve that facility. And then the wastewater, similar to what council allowed with Ballard when they built the 150-man camp, would be dumped into the municipal sewer system on a regular basis, as there's no municipal sanitary sewer system provided to the site. And the applicant would pay the applicable fees as per your schedule of fees. The system plan for waterways would require Ministry of Environment approval and a water meter. The contractor would be housed in 4 dormitories, and the site would include a kitchen and dining hall, recreation hall, and small office. Energy for heating would be supplied by propane, and the preliminary site plan was attached to the report. Under the Ontario Planning Act, excuse me, Section 39, Council may, by bylaw, authorize temporary use of land, buildings, or structures that otherwise are prohibited by the bylaw. The bylaw authorizing a temporary use shall be in effect for the 3 years from the date of the passing of the bylaw. Upon expiry, again, the uses that were permitted are no longer in effect and considered illegal unless council agrees to an extension. Under the Planning Act, council has the authority to approve the temporary zoning of the properties for 3-year increments that meet the provincial policy statement 2024, the Water Official Plan, and generally accepted good planning practices, which include the proposed use is of a temporary nature and does not entail any major construction or investment on the part of the owner, so that the owner will not experience undue hardship in reverting to the original use upon termination of the temporary use. The proposal will not prejudice the long-term intent or the orderly development contemplated by the provisions of the official plan and land use designations on the property, and the proposed use is compatible with the adjacent land uses around the property. The proposed use will not require the extension or expansion of any existing municipal services. The proposed use will not cause traffic hazards, and parking facilities required by the proposed use will be provided entirely on the site. Addressing each of these criteria, because these are what the planning principles are. The use does involve a temporary movable trailers and buildings to house and support up to the 176 workers. The owner of the land has leased the land for work camps to a party who's agreed to remove the structures at the end of the temporary zoning period, and the owner intends then to develop a commercial business for himself. The area is an employment area with little development. The development that exists on the site includes the one house, and so this development is compatible with that existing development. No extension of services is required except for a connection to the private water system that exists on the site already, and the area is directly accessible to Highway 17. So we have had consultations, the owner with MTO, and they have identified that no traffic issues have been identified that require any additional permitting by the MTO. The owner will be asked to install some traffic control devices at the exit of the driveway from the property, just due to the high volume that may be created with that amount of traffic going on to Pinewood Drive and then Highway 17. And that is a condition that would be included in the site plan, because if this is approved by council, the owner will be required to enter a site plan agreement setting out all the development standards that council has and the municipality has to ensure it's constructed and developed properly. Parking again is provided on site, and there is areas for overflow parking if required. The proposal for a temporary rezoning appears to meet the acceptable planning practices. Under Wawa zoning bylaw, section 2.7, council may provide for temporary use permissions in accordance with section 39 of the Planning Act. This property is currently zoned rural and hazard, and permitted uses include campground, group home, tourist establishment, and trailer park, which are all similar in character to the proposed development. The zoning bylaw further sets out parking requirements for temporary work camps and similar accommodation uses, and the applicant has provided sufficient on-site parking to accommodate the users, the employees, service vehicles, work vehicles, and any visitors to the site in accordance with the zoning regulations. All parking areas and internal drive roadways, aisles shall be designated to provide for safe vehicular circulation and for emergency access in the event a fire truck is needed or an emergency vehicle. And those roadways will be maintained in an orderly and dust-controlled condition throughout the duration of the temporary use. Again, that will be a requirement set out in the site plan agreement. The submitted site plan meets all of the rural zone standards and provisions as set out in Table B5. The Provincial Policy Statement 2024. The proposed development generally complies to the 24 Provincial Planning Statement, and under Section 2.2 of the Provincial Policy, municipalities are directed by the province to permit and facilitate all housing options required to meet the social, health, economic, and well-being requirements of current and future residents, including additional housing needs and needs arising from demographic changes and employment opportunities. This housing facility meets a local and regional need for temporary accommodations to house mining workers, as no other similar accommodations are available in the area. The planned development will aid in relieving pressure on the existing housing stock in the community, which is already experiencing full vacancies, low housing availability, and so this will contribute to stabilizing the sale and rental prices in the community. The need for this housing is directly attributable to employment opportunities and the need for mining contractors for a defined period. Under the Wawa official plan, council does not require to amend the Wawa official plan because it's a temporary use and the rural use is already permitted on site. I'm not sure, Jim, if you want to close the window, are you okay? Okay. And the application is an exception added on to the existing rural zoning on the property. Despite this, the subject property is designated rural in the official plan with a small section designated hazard, not impacted by the development proposed. And in terms of the official plan, section B6.3J states permitted uses include work camps and staging areas related to resource uses. Further, section 3.4 of the official plan sets out the general objective of economic growth, and it meets those two principles and policies set out by council in their official plan to encourage economic growth and provide for opportunities for economic development in a manner which will sustain and improve the quality of life in the municipality, encourage the land uses that generate employment opportunities and a broad range of commercial service facilities geared specifically to meet the needs of residents in the municipality and the north of the Algoma district. The application and proposal clearly meets both these objectives. The official plan of the municipality anticipates the need for and approval of temporary use bylaws. In section E 1.2, it sets out the criteria that council must consider when approving such bylaws. And this section reads for council, E 1.2 temporary use bylaws. Council may pass temporary use bylaws for a specific time up to 3 years and should be applied where it is considered inappropriate by council to permit the proposed use on a permanent or continuing basis and where alternatives such as relocation are not practical. The application and proposal meets this criteria in the official plan. It is my opinion that the proposed bylaw is consistent with the intent of the official plan, and more specifically, as a community with limited opportunities for economic growth, the plan encourages a variety of measures to foster the creation of jobs, economic activity. Thus, this proposal meets the general objective of the official plan. Site plan requirements. For the proposed amendment to the property reflects the need for temporary accommodation for mining industry growth and to help attract qualified labor for a large construction project where no alternative housing is available near the mining site. The site plan agreement, which will be a requirement for the applicant to enter into, would set out the following items. All buildings and structures require an Ontario building permit from the municipality of Wawa prior to construction. The owner shall enter into agreement with the municipality to dispose of all sanitary sewer produced on site and pay all applicable fees. The owner shall enter into an agreement with the municipality to dispose of all construction debris and refuse at the Wawa landfill and will be responsible for paying any and all applicable municipal landfill dumping fees. The owner agreed that upon expiry of the temporary zoning bylaw, the use shall cease and desist and all buildings and facilities shall be removed from the subject lands provided an additional zoning extension is not approved by council. Minor modifications to the site plan agreement may be approved without amendment to this agreement with the authorization of the CAO clerk. You have delegated me that authority, but if it is a major modification, it will require council approval. So in terms of comments to date from the public and from the agencies, we were required under the Planning Act to notify of this proposed amendment. No written comments from the public were received objecting to the rezoning application. One letter was received from Alamos Gold supporting the rezoning with a copy attached for council. The Algoma Public Health did not comment on the application. The Ministry of Transportation advised the owner that they will require a site plan of the property and other documentation that the property is properly zoned by the municipality for this development to proceed. For staff comments, there will be a positive economic impact on the community and local business from this development. In addition, property taxes will be applied to the site and fees collected from water use and waste disposal will be generated. Other staff comments included that staff have confirmed with the owner that on-site management and supervision will be maintained during the operation of the camp and appropriate security measures will be implemented to ensure the safety of both the community and the people on the site during the housing units exist on the property and to make sure that any kind of disturbances are minimized. The development shall comply with the applicable fire code requirements, including fire separation distances, emergency accesses, evacuation procedures, and fire suppression measures. An emergency response plan will be provided by the applicant to the chief fire official prior to any operation. The applicant remains responsible for obtaining all other required permits and approvals from any provincial agency, public health authority, building fire officials prior to occupancy, meaning the ability to use the site. So based on the suitability of the use of the property for temporary accommodations, the fact that no objections had been received to date to the application, and that the use meets the principles of good planning, the intent of the WALA official plan, and meets the requirements of the provincial policy statement, I recommend that council approve a temporary zoning bylaw extension on the subject property for a 3-year period. A bylaw approving the rezoning is included on tonight's regular agenda for council's consideration, and a site plan agreement will then be developed with the applicant and likely forwarded for council to review on June 16th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maury. I appreciate your comments. We will now hear from the applicant, Trevor and Tracy Lang. You have up to 10 minutes to do the presentation.
Okay, well, thank you, Council and Honorable Mayor, for listening to our temporary zoning request. I think everybody knows us. We own the Wild Blueberry Farm here in Wawa. We have a lot of investment in the Wawa area. We invested when times were tough. We invested when times were not so tough. We invested monies in the community when things were really good. So, like I said, we're fairly heavily invested. We have a lot at stake. We want the community to do well. I think this is a great thing for the community. The amount of people that'll come into town and spend money with Alamos, like in terms of this going out and visiting the town will be great. And I have to apologize. I'm not a very good public speaker. Okay, I get nervous. My wife says, just think everybody, she says, oh, you don't have to get nervous, so all your neighbors and everything. And she says, when you look out, just pretend everybody is me looking back. But she doesn't know it yet, but she makes me nervous.
Well, you're doing great, Trevor.
So, I think this is an ideal site. I've been told by Sig Fusion that they've never seen a better site. It has the power, it has the water. It would be nice to have the sewer, that's the only thing. And maybe one day they will have sewer down Pinewood. We do have plans after the temporary camp. The house that's on the site is 7 bedrooms, 7 baths. We plan to turn it into a bed and breakfast after. And we like to turn the site into a campsite, like a full-time camp area. There's a shortage of campsites in the area. The house, we want to theme it because it has 7 bedrooms, and A.Y. Jackson lived along the shore of Lake Superior. We like to theme it with a group of 7 to pull in more tourists. The farm, I mean, we've proven ourselves with the farm. I was told when I invested in the farm, you're crazy. You're gonna lose all your money. You're nuts. And now that it's successful, people say, well, that was a no-brainer. So, but we do plan to resurrect the mini putt that's out there and make it available to the community. We want to put an outdoor pool in, heated, that'll be available for 6 months of the year. My wife's supporting me 100%. The property itself, the kids, we have it leased out right now to firefighters for them and our that are here. There's nowhere to live for them. So we have 8 individuals living at the house. 2 of them are my daughters, and then there's 6 boys. So they're kind of happy. We do have a lot of investment properties in Wawa. We have commercial downtown, we have apartment buildings, and we have houses. Everything is full, and it's been full for the last 5 years. There's never been a vacancy for more than a month. And we don't even advertise anymore. The phone just rings. Do you have anything? No, we don't have anything. Do you have anything? Constant. So there is a major housing shortage here. Anyway, I'm invited, Alamos is here, and I think they can tell you the benefits better than I can of them coming in. And who's would like to speak? Anybody want to do okay?
Yeah, sure, I can go ahead and talk to it. So these guys are well aware.
Can I get you to
Sit up here, I'm gonna stand, that work?
The chair right there.
Toss. So you guys don't know me, I'm Austin Hemphill, I'm the general manager of the Island Gold District. So as you know, we currently employ about 1,100 full-time employees, plus another about 700 contractors. What's driven this need for this camp is the fact that we are building a power line. As you guys know, we're building a 115 kilovolt line that's running up from basically the Wawa transforming station all the way to our site. And in addition to that, we're also been kind of blessed with a series of expansion projects at our facility. So if you take a look back when we bought the asset in 2017 to the present day, we've increased production from 900 ore tons a day from the Island Gold Underground. We're now 1,500 tons. We're going to be over 2,000 by the end of this year, and we'll ramp up to 2,400 next year and to 3,000 the following year. As well as that, we bought the Magino operation, which is our next door neighbor at the time owned by Argonaut. We've been operating that successfully now for almost 2 years, and we're in the midst of an expansion there, doubling its production. So what's driving this need is the fact that we'll have about a 2-year plus or minus need for extra contract labor. And what we've done is we've basically filled the facilities we have in Dubreuilville. We're at the limits of what the municipal services can provide in that region. We are pushing the Friendship pretty hard, as we are now, with a plan to do a permanent expansion over the next year or 2. So that's our objective. However, this fits into an unfortunate gap in our ability to accommodate on site. So that's a bit of the background. And I appreciate Trevor coming up, providing the solution. A couple of the reasons why we're looking at this option is the fact we can consolidate our contractors in one area. We can minimize the transportation costs and lost production. So that's one of the big items we have there. And the fact is that we can accommodate the contractors there on an as-needed basis. We can provide food and lodging in one location. We can consolidate, they said, the workforce, so we can have large vans or buses to transport the workforce rather than to collect them from numerous areas through the region and then transport them to the site. It's one of the big reasons why we're driving. It's kind of the background and the whys and the wherefores. I definitely appreciate the opportunity, Trevor, to work with you on this, as well as council to provide some details and some information.
Great. Before we move on to other public input, I'm gonna break now and ask if there's any questions from council. So I always start at the end with Councillor Hoffman. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions for either Trevor or Alamos?
Trevor, you had the Ballard camp. You had no trouble with Ballard?
No problems. Now, one of the reasons that site wasn't available is because I entered into an agreement with a company called Reconcept. They're a German company, and if they get the proper approval through the government, they plan to spend $170 million putting battery storage on that piece of land. And that's the only reason we didn't put Alamos back there. And this site that I have here is actually better, I think. It's a better site.
So, and there were no problems with Villard,
No,
people getting drunk and rowdy and whatever?
no, they were all, we had no issue, not one, I don't believe.
Thank you, Trevor. Councillor Hatfield, any questions for Owls or Trevor?
Where's the company coming from that you're hiring for the cooking and taking care of everything?
So Sigerson is based on.
That's-
I can speak to that if you want, yeah, so we, the prime contractor who will build and they own the camp assets is called Sigfuson. They're actually based in
I know Safe for
yeah, they're
Sun, they
based in
bought our
Manitoba.
business.
But they, like the camp operation, cooking, cleaning, all the services within the camp will be subcontracted by them through ESS, who's already our provider at the Alamos site.
And where are they from?
They're-
Sure where they're from.
They're a UK-based company called Compass.
Yeah.
Their current North American camp catering type of company is called ESS.
Now, you were talking about in a year and a half, you're gonna have a permanent camp. What did you mean by that?
Well, what we're doing is we're expanding our camp facility in Dubreuilville, because that's the community closest to our operations. The issue we run into is the community of Dubreuilville is designed around, on paper, roughly 2,000 full-time residents. Currently, we're roughly 600 full-time residents in the community, including myself and my family. We are currently accommodating just around 950 to 1,000 people in our camp. Add the two together, we're about 1,600 people. The fact of the matter is, Sawmill shut down, a lot of the infrastructure, which was not supported at the level it needed to be, so it's basically needing a significant amount of upgrade for us to further expand our camp facility. Items were there mainly around the sanitary sewer, so forced mains, lift stations, as well as the water service, water treatment will be requiring upgrades as well.
And they're planning on doing that?
Well, we're gonna be, as funding it to support it, upgrade the town's services.
Have you approached any of the hotel owners in town? Did you talk to anybody there?
Yes, we've actually contacted the hotel owners in the middle of May there just to see what the capacities were. We reached around, the issue we ran into typically is food. That's a big issue. I mean, currently the ones we do have accommodated in the hotels or motels here in the region here, they have to send people home early to come out and do the grocery shopping or secure the food and then bring it into the people staying. That's the big limitation we've been facing.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Councillor Cannon?
I, for one, don't have any questions. I know everybody's surprised, right? Jim asked the question I was gonna ask, if there was any trouble with the other camp, so, and if there's no trouble, I have no questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Is there anything more to add before we move on to additional public input?
I see.
We have a small group of hotel and restaurant owners with us. So is there somebody who would like to speak on behalf of the group, or would you like to make individual contributions?
I would like to say a few words if
Absolutely, yes, please. So,
you want to sit there.
yes, please come up to the table. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Ray, that would be great.
Well, thank you. So this come across a little bit of a.
Did you want to introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are
I'm
and for the
sorry.
record?
Sorry, my name is Ray Valiant, owner of the Outdoorsman Motel in Wawa. So this come a little bit of a last minute unknown to us. I guess in our opinion, that maybe it wasn't very transparent as to this application and it being advertised apparently it was given to notices for people within 200 meters of the site and advertised on Facebook or on your website. Nonetheless, I had a discussion this morning with Maury and we were enlightened as to some details. And so the concern was regarding the official plan. And Maury did a fine job explaining all the ins and outs. I'm sure nobody can recite what she said over there, but there was a lot said. So our concern over the official plan, and Maury did answer me today in an email, where she stated that it did meet the requirements of the official plan. And if I could ask council, I'm not sure if you got the official plan in front of you, but to look at the section 6 of it, B6, Okay,
Don't have it in front of me.
where's
They
the
don't have a
answer?
copy, right?
Oh, they don't?
No, they don't.
They do?
We don't have a copy
Okay,
of the.
so I'll read it to you. Under permitted uses, it does say work camps, staging areas related to resource uses. So having said that, you would say, well, you know what, this meets that requirement. But it's important to understand the context of what that statement is referring to. When you back up and look at the beginning of that section of B6, okay, and it talks about purpose of the rural areas under the official plan, okay? So it's supposed to support, foster, resource-related, which that does, recreational use. And as a means to expand, diversify the local economy. Okay, so that's a two-part thing there. What is being proposed is not for recreational resource use. Okay, and that's why it's important to look back at things and read things in context. Okay, now I'll come back to that in a second. So today we drafted a letter, and I'll read it and I'll submit it to council. Okay, it says, with respect to the above noted bylaw amendment, we, the undersigned, ask this amendment not be approved, as it does not comply with the official plan, municipality of Walla bylaw 1379-10. And it is signed by myself, the Walla Motor Inn, Big Bird Inn, Highway 17, High Falls Motel, Parkway Motel, Best Northern, Mystic Isle, Lakeview, AJ's Pizza, North of 17 Restaurant, John's Independent Grocer, Viking Restaurant, Algoma, Alpha Inn, and Beaver. There are others, due to the time nature, they verbally said over the phone, they did support this, that they didn't feel that there was a positive economic input for the municipality. And the thought process of that is this will be a self-contained, all-in-one dormitory, cafeteria. So the influx that we're seeing now and have seen in the past, okay, that economic benefit will not be there. Okay? Granted, you know, the municipality has stated that they will receive an increase in property taxes, okay, and some waste dumping fees. If you look at that scenario there, that's a positive generated income versus the negative impact of this economic for this municipality. You know, that gross domestic product for a municipality is a huge negative. There's not a positive spin on that for the economics. And, you know, you look at everybody who comes here, stays in town, they're going to all these restaurants, they're shopping at our local grocery store. You know, that's a spin-off from this. There'll be zero, you know, if this is allowed to happen. You know, so I really urge you to really consider that, because, you know, with those two things, as per your official plan, the resource is not mining resources, it's recreational use. That's what your official plan says. Okay, and it says it's gotta be an economic impact positive for the town. That's not how this is gonna play out. Okay. With respect to the notice, having said that, I don't think it was a fair, transparent notification for this whole process. I understand the guidelines were followed, I don't disagree, okay? But there is a bigger picture here. You know, and I think it's on council, municipality, sure that transparency is there. Having to follow Facebook or go to the municipal's website, you know, it's, you know, this is a big thing for this town. You know, all these people, these are major businesses right here in Wawa, who've been here for many years. And Trevor, so have you, I'm not discounting that. But there is a real economic impact, and I would hope you really consider that. I mean, I'm not sure how much you've looked at this official plan, or maybe never, but you need to make an important decision. And I didn't rhyme off everything that Maury said, but those 2 lines that I've mentioned, that is a hard matter, and that does not satisfy your official plan. That's not what you guys signed up for. This council is here to represent the municipality of Wawa and its stakeholders. That's what you've been elected to do. So I would ask you to consider and really think about your vote.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming here tonight. It's very important to share your opinion. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak for or against the application?
Sorry, can I say?
Yes, absolutely. Please come up. Yeah, absolutely. Please introduce yourself and,
Sure.
and again, similar, you please respect the time limit and imposed.
Quickly, because first, my name is, I just write down the speaker notes because I know this information just 1 hour ago. So
Okay,
I think I need to express my feelings. to you
absolutely.
guys.
This is the
Sorry.
opportunity.
Maybe I didn't get the full information, maybe something wrong, but just roughly write down some speaker notes. I read it, it's okay?
Yes,
Sure,
please.
thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members and staff. My name is Tina Lee, and I am the owner of Lakeview Hotel. I'm here today to speak against the proposal, this word maybe too strong, sorry. Against the proposed rezoning to allow a worker camp with bed and food service in Wawa area. As a local hotel owner, I have investigated significantly in this community. I pay money, municipal property tax, business cost, insurance, staff costing, and municipal accommodation tax. Hotel like mine already providing accommodations to workers, visitors, contractors, and tourists. Allowing a separate worker camp would directly compete with existing hotel and hurt local business that have followed the rules and contributed to the local tax base for years. My key concern are, first, the rezoning would create unfair competition. Hotels must meet strict standards, pay commercial tax, collect MAT, carry insurance, employ local staff, and operate under many regulations. As worker camp offers beds and food service would provide hotel-like service without necessarily carrying the same costs and responsibility. Second, it would take business away from existing hotel. If workers are hosted in a camp instead of local hotel, motel, so hotel, motel will lose room nights, revenue, and occupancy. This directly affect our ability to pay staff, maintain our property, pay tax, and continue operating. Third, the food court would also hurt local restaurant and small business. If workers sleep and eat inside the camp, they will spend less money in the local economic. Hotel, restaurant, convenience store, laundromat, taxi, and other local business may all lose revenue. Fourth, the city, I think, should support existing taxpayer first. Hotel owners have made a long-term investment in this municipality. We pay significant property tax and MAT. Approving a rezoning that remove business from existing taxpayer sends the wrong message to local investor. Fifth, there are already existing accommodations in the community. Before approving a new camp, the city, I think, should study current hotel capacity and occupancy rates. If hotel have available rooms, there is no need to create a separate accommodation system that bypass local business. Six, the rezoning may create a precedent. Once one worker camp is approved, it may become easier for other similar projects to be approved in the future. This would permanently damage the local hotel market. 7th, there may be community impacts, including traffic, parking, noise, with safety emergency service and pressure on municipal infrastructure. This impact should be carefully studied before any rezoning is approved. Closing statement. For these reasons, I respectfully ask council to reject this rezoning application. At the minimum, I ask council to delay the decision until a full economic impact study is complete, including the impact on local hotel, restaurant, taxpayer, employment, MAT revenue, and the surrounding business. We are not against the workers or economic development. We support the rules, but the growth must not come at the expense of existing local businesses that have already invested in this community and continue to support the municipalities through tax, job, and service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tina. I appreciate that. Are there any other comments?
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Just because we're involved in, my wife's involved in education and we do sports and things like that. There was 30, how many soccer players came in?
Maybe.
Like 30, and they had trouble getting rooms here. Like, I mean,
I just want to, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and I speak just, I just think, I hear what everybody's saying and I do understand those pieces, but I do think you need to think about you as an individual and where you're living and what you're going, where you're living is your home. So this will be home for some people while they're here. And where we live, we go and we spend, like we go to convenience store, we do some of these other things where we spend our money because that's where we are. If like I understand that, but there are times of the year where rooms are hard to find. And it will also impact, like if we're hosting events, like these teams almost didn't come because they couldn't find the room for their team. That's going to impact other things. So I hear what you're saying, but it is a big sort of trickle piece. And we're not talking about, just a short amount of time, necessarily like days.
Thank you very much, Tracy, and I'll just ask Alamos if they want to close it up.
No, I thank you for the opportunity, again, as we mentioned, but I appreciate your guys' concerns. We really do, but we've utilized your services in the past, many of you guys are well aware. Just much to echo what Tracy said, the issue we run into is the consistency of availability and the ability for us to provide all three meals, breakfast and supper on site there and takeaway lunch. We did reach out and we did not get a really consistent response. Not here to really question your guys' position, but just to say that we did take a look at these options. And this camp's not going to be a limitation. This is going to be part of our accommodation. There will be additional contractors here as well. Some we can look at accommodating here. Just the reality of the situation is we need constancy on these critical parts of our project, specifically around the power line, as well as we take a look on the mill expansion. There is going to be additional contractors as well as others staying in the region during that time.
I know from the Valor, when the Valor camps would come, a lot of the young guys, their wives would come up to visit. They didn't stay at the camps. They would get a room.
Yeah, may I add one
Absolutely.
comment as well? Yeah, no, it is, we recruit, both obviously Alamos employees, but also our contractor workforce on, almost a national scale and at times, right now, like we're bringing in people from as far as Newfoundland and Alberta and BC and everybody that we bring to work for us on site, because of the very strong market, the lack of tradespeople, the lack of workforce. Any of those people can be working somewhere else if they so choose, right? We have to be the employer of choice and the project of choice, right? And when we have, since we run into capacity constraints, we have had, some losses of those people because they just said, listen, I didn't sign up for, for a job where we're having to, make our own food and that sort of thing. And it just comes down to like, we need, when we say 176 capacity, some of that would be taken up with camp, operations staff, but it's, we need that block, consistently for a sustained period of time. And these are people working, 10-hour, 12-hour shifts, and we need to provide breakfast before that, dinner after that. And it's just as Austin said, it's just the ability to provide that, time frame. It's got to be 7 days a week, and it's got to be, it's got to be available all the time. And when we have polled the local hotels, we haven't been able to come up with anything close to that number that we need to accommodate that workforce.
Thank you very much. With that said, I declare the public comment portion of this meeting closed. Following the close of this hearing, the public will not have further opportunities to speak or submit information on this matter. Council members will now have the opportunity to ask questions of clarification to staff or the applicant. Following this, council will determine the next steps, which will include voting on the bylaw today, referring the matter back to staff, or bringing it to a future regular meeting or decision. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions or comments?
I have a comment, because you talk about recreation, yet if we say, no, they can't have a camp, are they gonna go to your hotels? If they go to your hotels, you say recreation. What about the tourists that come into Wawa that want a room, and they can't get a room because it's full of contractors? You know?
Answer that question, Jim?
I know, you're not open, you're not busy all year, but in the summer.
4 months, maybe 5 months of prosperity.
Well, possibly come winter, and like they say, they'll have more contractors coming into town.
Oh, I
but-
support them 100%.
No, but no, I'm just saying, I'm for the camp,
Yeah, I'm considering it, so we have to
you know,
try
because,
and use both.
Hmm?
Try and use both resources. And my biggest contention is, I should have spoke up earlier.
Thanks. Councillor Hatfield?
Well, I have so many questions. You know, the motels in our town are the backbone to our taxes. And they're here 365 days a year, not just for 3 years. And then if they build that cap, it might even be shorter. So I really worry about that. Our hotels don't do well in the wintertime. The only real question I have is, who's going to feed these men? That's my main concern. Sleeping in a hotel is not a problem, but eating is a big problem. Where are they going to do all that? Anybody could answer that for me if they'd like.
Sorry, I just talked to my hotel because I'm not so familiar with others. So our restaurant is almost empty because no customer. If we have the contract with wine, for example, we can have the cook, hire people running our business. Our hotel always just empty.
Yeah, but I'm talking 170 men. And they get up at 5 o'clock, they eat at 6 o'clock, and they're on the road. Then when they get home, they're tired and they're a little bit miserable after their day. They just want to eat, have a shower, and go to bed. Now, this is what I'm worried about. Who's going to feed these men? And if you guys could answer that, that's fantastic.
So a number of the hotels and motels do offer cooking facilities for all their guests.
For the breakfast, yes.
That's available for them 24/7.
I'll just pause because I think we've already closed the public portion of the meeting, and we have our, yeah, and
Yeah, I had a question for them.
but Alamos has stated that there is no capacity in the community for what they're looking for.
What we asked around is we could not get it in the quantities we needed. That's the state.
Do you have any other questions, Councillor,
No,
before,
Austin.
first for staff?
Is there going to be 170 men at the time? Is there always going to be 170 men? Do you know
The
that?
maximum capacity is 176 persons.
Okay,
They will be coming in and out as according to their work schedule, so they won't be on site 24 hours a day. That's the maximum capacity. I would assume that will fluctuate depending on the contractors, the work they're doing, and their work schedules.
yeah. It's going to be a very hard decision for me because our motels go through a lot. And they pay big bucks to our town. And Trevor, I know you're trying to go ahead with the business, and I'm going to have a really hard time making a decision tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Cannon, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you all for everybody today for your input. This was a really fulsome conversation, and I thank everybody for being here. Having no further business on this matter, I declare this meeting fully adjourned.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the meeting close at 7:19 PM.
All in favor? Carried. You are all welcome to stay for the next portion of the committee of the whole meeting, but we will pause to allow everybody to make their way.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
When is the vote?
In the regular meeting.
The regular meeting?
Unless it's delayed.
We have two items, I believe, is the committee of the-
We have a very short committee of the whole meeting.
Is it two
Open
items?
meeting, right?
Yeah, I only have two items to speak of, and then we go to the regular.
Let's do it.
This one.
Is this voted tonight?
Okay, I was just explaining, I have two items on the committee of the whole to talk about. Then we go to the regular, there's some regular business, and the bylaw will be on the agenda if you want to stay.
Thank you.
This was in the chair.
Find an agenda.
So we will now call this meeting to order and note the members present at 7:21 PM. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none, item number 3, approval of the agenda. May I please have somebody make a motion to approve as presented? Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, all in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes, 4.1, Committee of the Whole meeting Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. May I have somebody make a motion to approve? Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, all in favor? Carried. Item number 5, business arising out of previous meeting. 5.1, garbage and refuse collection, contractor authorization and non-residents waste disposal policy. Maury, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At a previous council meeting, I brought forward a draft, an updated refuge collection bylaw. We did that at the beginning of April. We used the month of April to receive public comments. We have received a few comments, but generally speaking, none objecting to the planned update to the waste disposal bylaw. But certainly questions came forward regarding how we treat non-resident waste versus resident waste, and how we determine when, for example, a contractor from out of town is hired to do a roof, for example, in town, and how they come to the landfill and dispose of those materials. How do we determine as a municipality, did those materials come from a local resident within the boundaries, or did they come at somebody building a camp outside the boundaries? So there were a lot of questions how we treat that. And so before you, which will form in concert part of the new refuge collection system to come, and the bylaw to come to council at the next meeting regarding our updated waste collection bylaw, that this would be a separate policy that council would consider presented to you tonight in draft, to pass a policy that would set out how non-residents and residents can work with the municipality to possibly use our landfill. So the policy basically states, in essence and in summary, that we don't accept any non-resident waste, and at only times when approved by council and subject to the requirements of our ECA, our environmental certificate of approval, which is very restrictive and does restrict the type of refuge we collect and how we collect and where we place it in the landfill. That essentially, we're making it very clear that non-resident waste is not accepted at our landfill, save for an except, right, if there's an exception approved by council. On top of that, this requires a contractor authorization procedure. When people come to the landfill, our landfill staff doesn't know everybody in the community, and they don't know at times who's coming to the landfill. So this does propose that any property owner or particularly commercial industrial users, that they just sign an authorization form for the municipality to have on file or with that contractor doing work for them, especially if it's a contractor from out of town, that they have this form. So anyone coming to the landfill attendant can just ask for proof that the waste was collected as authorized by the owner, and it's on file. So it does propose, which would be a first for the municipality, a policy that sets out we would require a contract authorization form from any contractor coming to the landfill tenant, or landfill. And as always, we would require that all landfill meet the landfill operating requirements, the environmental compliance approval, and all applicable legislation and regulation. So there are other ways that there can be a verification of the waste coming to the landfill. We set out in the policy. Staff may request documentation of anyone to verify the origin of waste. They could ask for a copy of a demolition permit, building permit, a contractor authorization form, maybe a business document confirming the source of waste, because it does allow for that business on their own letterhead to just write a letter, so the contractor has it. And the landfill attendants now, there are no policies or bylaws so outdated. There's nothing that authorizes and gives authority to our landfill attendants to reserve the right to refuse entry to any contractor, resident, or other person delivering waste, or to refuse any particular waste brought to the landfill. So this policy sets out what parameters that landfill attendant would have to follow if a decision was made in that regard. And in terms of penalties, this isn't a matter covered under the Provincial Offences Act. So the penalty set out in the policy is failure to comply would result in the suspension or termination of using our landfill. So it does provide for a penalty, which we don't have currently. Of course, all tipping fees would be in accordance with our schedule of fees. And this would be a policy we present to you in draft with a copy of the proposed authorization form for council to consider in draft. And I would intend to bring back to council as part of the new reference bylaw at the June 16th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hoffman.
Contractors, is that construction garbage? It's not household waste garbage?
No, not household waste,
So,
but
but construction garbage, does it go into the same landfill as house waste, or is there another place that we put the construction?
it depends on the type of waste. So just shingles can go in, just the general waste. But there is an area at the landfill, at times the landfill attendant will direct you to. Wood is in a different bin, metal's in a different bin, so depending on the type of waste. But general construction material, drywall, that type of material is just put in our general regular waste bin.
Just wondering how fast our dump is gonna fill up.
It's an excellent comment, Councillor Hoffman, but we're collecting it now. So ultimately, the purpose of this policy is to make sure we narrow down what we collect to save the length of our landfill.
Thank you.
Councillor Hatfield, questions? Councillor Cannon.
I have no problem with this.
To your comments, Councillor Hoffman, there is a city in Northern Ontario that it did catch up to them because they accepted construction waste, and before council knew it, they had 2.5 years left remaining on the life cycle of their disposal site. So I think this is a really good reason why we're reviewing our policies and tightening the parameters of our landfill site. So I think that this is an excellent policy, and it's a really good reason for us to be reviewing our policies and procedures with regards to the landfill site. So I have no questions or comments. I will see this on the 15th. If council has any questions or amendments, they can reach out to you. Perfect. We will now move on to item 5.2, draft bylaw to regulate the sale and use of fireworks within the municipality of Wawa. Maureen?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This report is in response to Council's direction and discussion at our last council meeting that Council would like to consider changing its outdated 1967 fireworks bylaw and permit retail and commercial establishments to sell fireworks. So the report before you essentially, in summary, proposes a new bylaw, and that bylaw with, conditions and regulations must be met. Essentially, are recommending to council that number one, we permit commercial establishments, those businesses that are registered with the municipality and meet a number of safety and fire regulation conditions, that they be permitted to sell fireworks for a 14-day period prior to two occasions that would be permitted in the community, and that one being Victoria Day, the May long weekend, and July 1st, the long weekend. So there'd be two times that council would permit commercial establishments to sell fireworks for the 2 weeks prior and day of event. That's the proposal regarding that. But the second change from your existing bylaw has to do with allowing local residents over the age of 18 to set off fireworks. So our current bylaw does not permit that. This bylaw proposes that residents, again, who are 18, only set off those fireworks in a defined period, meet a number of other conditions, that they be permitted to set off fireworks in the municipality of Wawa on the day preceding and the day after Canada Day and July 1st. So you would be permitting the community to have a very narrow scope of permission to set off fireworks. Without going into a lot of details, council could read the report, but there's a definition of fireworks. They exclude firecrackers. They exclude anything that is defined as an explosive firework. So there are some very specific requirements that the residents would have to meet if they're looking to set off fireworks. So those are two changes to the existing bylaw, and of course, some of the safety features, there would be no fireworks permitted in any fire ban declared by whether it be the province or our own fire chief. There's restrictions on locations. They can't be on parks or trails, on roads or sidewalks, can't be within 50 meters of schools. If you're going to sell fireworks, you would be required to get a permit, so this would be new to our administration. We would want the applicant to fill in an application that would go to the fire chief, be reviewed for surety that retail outlet is meeting the mandatory requirements of all the regulations that deal with fireworks. And as always, there would be a clause with an exemption that anyone can apply to council for a special occasion. We anticipate as staff, there may be an occasion, whether it was Wawa's 200th birthday, or we want to celebrate this mayor and council. There might be some special occasion that would be at such an important degree that this would provide residents to apply to council for exemptions. In terms of financial impacts, the proposed bylaw is not anticipated to have a significant financial impact on the municipality. Permanent administration enforcement activities would be undertaken with existing staff's resources, and some permit fees may be generated by establishing that new application process. I would end by saying this is presented to council as a draft bylaw. The draft bylaw was attached for council to go through there. It is not on the regular meeting tonight. We wanted to provide a 2-week period, so the owner of a retail establishment who first approached council for this would have opportunity to comment. In looking at other municipalities, the 14 days seem to be the average, as we're proposing the 14 days prior to sell, but it does go all over the place. Council could look at a seasonal sell period between, for example, May 1st to September 1st or to Labor Day. You could look, some municipalities only provided 5 days prior. So It does vary. Council has some flexibility and considerations around what it might want its retail outlets to be permitted. 14-day was the average. So in conclusion, we present this for conversation for tonight. Although at the last meeting, I said I would put it at resolution to council to make a decision. I rethought that and thought it would be best just to bring a draft to get comment on before we bring this to council for resolution, which would be at the June 16th council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maureen. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions,
No.
comments?
I'm all in favor.
Councillor Hatfield?
Could I ask Kevin a question?
Absolutely.
Kevin, just how dangerous are fireworks if the kids are in the bush setting them off?
Well, there's different occasions that you have to work, or different issues you have to be concerned with, depending on the severity of the firework or the size of it. Could be an injury to the individual, could start forest fires, could blind people. There's all kinds of things that could happen. Not necessarily always happen, but the possibilities there that you have to worry about.
Thank you.
Councillor Cannon?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one question. In the last meeting, when we discussed this first off, it said that additional community engagement would be undertaken prior to decision. Is that going to be this 2-week period that the community can engage in this to weigh in?
Yes, Councillor Cannon, that's the intention, that we would seek input on this draft bylaw before we brought it back to council. So no decision is being asked of council this evening.
Okay, thank you.
I really appreciate the compromise put forward, really addressing safety. I think allowing law-abiding citizens the opportunity to purchase fireworks is great. I mean, in a community where liquor is sold, cannabis is sold, firearms or ammunition is sold, I think giving law-abiding citizens an opportunity to purchase fireworks is equity, it's equitable. And I think this is a really good compromise, and I think a lot of municipalities do that. And it gives these retail establishments that have asked for this an opportunity to have additional products in their stores. This model balances economic benefits with residents' expectations and public safety concerns, so thank you very much. The only thing that I would ask, I love the idea of going out to the public and finding out what the community thinks. But I wonder what you would think about adding New Year's Eve or New Year's Day to it, and Diwali. That was one thing that I really thought. Our community is certainly diversifying it in demographics, and I'm seeing some nodding heads. And that is, that particular holiday is really commonly associated with fireworks and lights. So if we can consider that as we move forward, I think that would be great. That's all. Is there any other questions? No? So with that, if there's no other questions, we will move on to item number 6, next meeting date, 6.1, Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. Item number 7, adjournment, 7.1, close of meeting. May I please have somebody make a motion to approve? Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman, all in favor? Carried. And we will now move on to our regular council meeting agenda.
I have a question then. If I want a recorded vote, when do I do that?
When we are going to vote.
Okay.
So we will call the meeting to order and note the members present at 7:38 p.m. Disclosure of pecuniary interest? Hearing and seeing none. We will move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda. 3.1, approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 4, announcements and giving of notice. There are multiple announcements listed on the council agenda. I encourage everybody to take a look. Is there any announcements that council would like to make? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 5, adoption of minutes. 5.1, regular council meeting Tuesday, May 19th, 2026.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the following minutes of the meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, as contained on pages 1 to 6, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 6, there are 11 items listed under correspondence. Maury, is there anything particular that you'd like to highlight for us?
I think, Mayor, in the consideration of our audience awaiting a decision of council, there is nothing to note except I would mention, Mayor, that we will read the proclamation for the Seniors Month in June as part of this agenda, which there's correspondence pertaining to. So it's just to note, as council's aware, June is Seniors Month. And although not on the agenda, we received correspondence today that our increased funding request for our active seniors living center has been approved. Thank you to Bill Rosenberg, Patricia Ricard, and of course Heather Rainville.
Great. And the only thing that I would like to mention is that after a great deal of lobbying and advocating, is that our NORDS funding, which is our Northern Ontario Resource Development Support Fund. Thank you very much to the mining resource development in our area has been made permanent, which is a huge deal for the municipality of Wawa. So Wawa's allocation for our annual allocation from that fund is just over $100,000, so $108,000. So that was a super big win for Wawa. So big thanks to the province for that additional pot of funding. Item number 7, the consent agenda. 7.1, approval of the consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the items listed under the consent agenda 7.2 to 7.6 be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 8, business arising at a previous meeting. 8.1, declare land surplus, 39 Algoma Street, Part 2, Plan IR-6820.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Hoffman. Whereas Council of the Corporation of Municipality Wawa passed bylaw number 3180-19, being policy AD-002 governing the sale and other disposition of land. And whereas policy AD-002 states that Council of the Municipality Wawa shall, by resolution, at any time, declare any of its land to be surplus to the needs of the municipality and shall authorize action to be taken to sell or dispose of said lands. And whereas the municipality of Wawa is the registered owner of lands municipally known as 39 Algoma Street, Part 2, Plan IR-6820, as more particularly described in CAO Report 0826, and the subject property has been reviewed and determined to be no longer required for the present or future needs of the municipality. And whereas the required notice in accordance with the municipality's giving a public notice policy, PR 004, has been posted for a 2-week period. And now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Wawa hereby declares the property located at 39 Algoma Street, Part 2, Plan IR-6820, as surplus to the needs of the municipality. And further that the CO clerk is hereby authorized and directed to take all necessary actions to dispose of the property at fair market value to a housing development company in accordance with policy AD-002. And further that the mayor and clerk are hereby authorized to execute any agreement of purchase and sale and related documents required to carry out the disposition of land.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Item number 9, new business. 9.1, approved proclamation, Seniors Month, June 2026.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman, whereas Seniors Month is an annual province-wide celebration recognizing the valuable contributions that seniors make to our communities, workplaces, families, and society. And whereas seniors in the municipality of Wawa have helped shape and contribute to enriching the social, cultural, and economic fabric of the community through their leadership, mentorship, volunteerism, and active participation. And whereas the contribution and experiences of seniors deserve recognition and appreciation, and their stories, wisdom, and knowledge continue to benefit present and future generations. And whereas promoting the health, well-being, dignity, and inclusion of seniors strengthens the entire community and helps foster a more connected and caring society. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby proclaim the month of June 2026 as Seniors Month in the Municipality of Wawa, and encourages all residents to recognize, celebrate, and thank the seniors who contribute so much to our community.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. 9.2, approve mayor's travel to Orillia to attend Canada's Rural and Remote Broadband Community Conference and Expo, June 10th and 11th, 2026.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved the Council of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby approve the travel of Mayor Melanie Pilon to Orillia to attend the Canada's Rural and Remote Broadband Community Conference and Expo on June 10th and 11th, 2026.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. 10, bylaws. 10.1, first, second, and third reading.
Mayor, I apologize for the interruption. You may wish to consider severing the zoning bylaw number 3883-26. You may not. I just wanted to make sure you might want that read separately, especially if a recorded vote is being asked only on that bylaw. Sorry.
Yes, so I agree. So how do you propose that we sever?
We just sever it and then I'll read it separately. I'll do these bylaws first and then we will read that one separately so council can vote on that separately.
Okay, so let's proceed with the bulk. And I'll let you revise the agenda when you read it.
Thank you. So I can proceed? Okay.
Yes, please proceed.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3880-26 to confirm the proceedings of council as being held on the second day of June 2026. Bylaw number 3881-26 to enter an agreement with the city of Sault Ste. Marie for an intermunicipal service agreement for the transfer of service delivery for all court administration and court support functions under the Provincial Offences Act and prosecutions of matters under the Parts 1 and 2 of the Provincial Offences Act. Bylaw number 3882 to authorize civil marriage solemnization service in the municipality of Wawa. Bylaw number 3884, an agreement with Villeneuve Construction for the Algoma Street and Beck Avenue Water Main and Sanitary Sewer Construction Project. And bylaw number 388526 to establish a municipal transit accommodation tax in the municipality of Wawa. And finally, bylaw number 3886-26 to authorize the municipality of Wawa to enter into an Ontario transfer payment agreement with the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks for Sandy Beach Walkway.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Item 10.5, bylaw number 3883-26 to amend zoning bylaw 2821-15, temporary rezoning of 120 Pinewood Drive.
We need a mover and a second.
May I please have somebody move? Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon.
And I'd like a recorded vote, Mayor, please.
Councillor Hatfield would like a recorded vote, please.
So I'll read it and then, yeah.
Yes, please.
Resolved that the following bylaw be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3883-26 to amend zoning bylaw 2821-15, temporary rezoning of 120 Pinewood Drive.
Questions, comments? I would like to make the comment, I really appreciated everybody coming today. I feel like it is very courageous to come in and make a statement, a public statement, so I appreciate that on everybody's behalf. All comments and must be made in alignment with the provincial policy statement, as Maury said, and the municipality of Wawa, I think it's fair to say on everybody's behalf is really tries to uphold that vision that the provincial policy statement aligns and really tries to maintain close relationships with the province. It keeps economic development, everybody keeps economic development in mind and in their vision. So before the vote, just wanted to make a note of that. So I will call the vote. Councillor Hoffman?
I'm for the park.
So that's a yes. Councillor Cannon?
Yes.
Councillor Hatfield?
No.
And I am a yes. So the motion will be carried. Item number 11, closed session. 11.1, move on to closed session.
Moved by Councillor Hoppin, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 7:50 p.m. in order to address the following matters pertaining to item number. There was a misprint on your agendas, but there are two legal issues related to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And a additional legal issue, one item, a labor relations or employee negotiations item under the Municipal Act.
So we'll pause and we'll let everybody file out. And thank you very much for everybody coming tonight.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. And so we'll verify, there's a notice that goes out on the day of the post and it's a 3-day period, right? Okay, so we'll be
Video.
Item number 12, return to open session. 12.1, return to open session.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that council resume to the open session meeting at 8:52 PM.
All in favor? Carried. There's no business arising from closed session. Item 14, next meeting date, 14.1, Tuesday, June 16, 2026. Oh my goodness. Going back in time. Item number 15, adjournment, 15.1, close of meeting.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, second by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the meeting close at 8:52 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks for your good work tonight. Have a great night.
Yeah, I don't wanna go back to 2016.
Just